It wasn't that long ago that a certain young man named Jack was known for his love of the outdoors and for his penchant for adventure. His adventures weren't always successful, however, and on one of his expeditions into a deep, dark forest, he had a particularly unfortunate encounter with a creature he had never seen before, a gargantuan beast with sharp claws and teeth that seemed to be made of obsidian. Jack barely escaped with his life, leaving a trail of blood as he ran for safety. After that, he swore off his adventuring days and decided to dedicate his life to a much more peaceful pursuit, gardening. He found a certain solace in tending to his plants, watching them grow from tiny seeds into magnificent flowers and trees. He even started to grow some vegetables, and soon his little garden was a verdant oasis, a haven of peace and tranquility. He still had his bad days, however, and on those days he would look out into the woods and shudder, a reminder of the dangers that still lurked beyond his peaceful sanctuary. But he never let it deter him from his new passion, and he found a certain joy in the simplicity of his new life. His friends, Sarah and Michael, would often come to visit, bringing him news from the outside world and marveling at his beautiful garden. Jack would simply smile, a look of contentment on his face. A man who had found his peace in the most unexpected of places. My arranged fiancée Willow fell in love with a poor academic star in her class. This academic ace, Makoto, treated money like dirt. When he found out about my engagement with Willow, he scoffed. Feudal dynasties have been gone for so long, and people are still doing arranged marriages. Ridiculous. Willow was swept off her feet by him and took it upon herself to call off our engagement. She eloped with him not long after. 5 years later, I was about to become the heir of the Wong Group. Unexpectedly, at the handover ceremony, I saw Willow again. Not even her heavy makeup could hide her exhaustion. Tears in her eyes, she said to me, "I regret it. The one I've always loved is you." The next day, Makoto came storming up to me. He shouted, "George, you think just because you've got a bit of money, you can seduce someone else's wife? Now I've lost all dignity. Happy now." Chapter 1. The whole room fell into stunned silence. Everyone knew the Wong and Liu families had once fallen out because of a poor student. The Liu family's heiress had defied the engagement between the two families and eloped with that boy. In the end, out of love for their daughter, the Liu family agreed to their marriage, but only under the condition that the man marry into their family. And that's how the drama supposedly ended. Who would have thought there'd be an encore? I frowned slightly. Makoto had been living as a son-in-law in a wealthy family for 5 years, yet his fragile pride was still intact, but that deep-rooted inferiority complex hadn't changed one bit. I glanced around the room. Under everyone's gaze, I said calmly, "Mr. Ito, this is a public event. Please watch your language. If you want to talk, I suggest you calm down first. And if you keep throwing baseless accusations, I won't hesitate to let my lawyer respond." Makoto turned pale, visibly embarrassed. I looked at him expressionlessly. His suit was high-end couture, a luxury watch on his wrist worth millions. Compared to the shabby boy he used to be 5 years ago, he looked like a completely different man, except for that prideful, yet insecure, personality. It hadn't changed a bit. 5 years ago, Willow said that Makoto was different. He didn't fawn over her like other men, didn't flatter her or grovel at her feet. Instead, he wasn't afraid to point out her flaws. To him, she wasn't some untouchable heiress, just a classmate, an equal. That sense of equality felt like a spring breeze to her. In this circle, everyone's obsessed with power and profit. Even marriage is just another transaction. Loveless marriages were common where both sides do as they please. One day, I saw Willow whispering with Makoto in the library. There was a light in her eyes I'd never seen before. I wasn't bothered, but I didn't expect Willow to actually break off our engagement for him. I looked at her and asked, "Do you know what marrying him means? Lose this life of luxury? Maybe even be disowned?" Willow looked determined. "He's talented and full of ideals. He'll build a future for us with his own hands. Not like you people who only care about money." He's right. True love shouldn't be shackled by money. Of course he's not like us. He doesn't have money. I found it laughable. In the dirty world of the rich, someone like Willow could still believe in romantic ideals. I agreed to break off the engagement. The next day, Willow and Makoto disappeared. They took the night train to the south. Before she left, Willow suddenly asked me, "George, did you ever love me?" I didn't answer, But truth be told, I once did have feelings for her. My parents married for love. My dad came from the countryside, brilliant, got into a top university on his own merit. When he pursued my mom, he couldn't even afford a suit. She was moved by his talent, married him against her family's wishes, and gave him everything she had. But once my dad made it big, he rekindled things with his college ex. My mom caught them together one day, and the very next moment they got into a car crash. Both died on the spot. My mom lost all will to live. She changed my last name, tried to kill herself more than once. Eventually, she was committed to a psychiatric hospital. My grandfather hated that country boy son-in-law and looked at me with the same disgust. I became invisible in the family until Willow came over as a guest. She invited me to hang out. We grew close, inseparable. That's when my grandfather started paying attention to me again. Chapter 2. He called a family meeting and announced that he was going to choose an heir. I wasn't on the list of candidates at all. After all, aside from my mother, my grandfather had 2 sons, one of whom was an illegitimate child named Martin. My older uncle was obsessed with pleasure and had no interest in running the family business. In contrast, my younger uncle Martin was hell-bent on inheriting the family legacy, so I regarded him as my strongest competitor. Under immense pressure, I studied tirelessly every day. I wanted to prove myself to everyone, to make my grandfather see my capabilities. Before I even graduated, I had already led the company to achieve several new milestones. But none of these achievements seemed to impress my grandfather until my engagement to Willow was finalized. The Liu family was as prestigious as the Wang family. A marriage alliance between the two would undoubtedly lead to a win-win situation. Only then did my grandfather turn his eyes toward me and formally announce that I would be the successor of the Wang family. Willow and I had known each other since childhood. We played together growing up, and our families were evenly matched. It was only natural that I grew fond of her. However, those trivial feelings vanished completely after she met Makoto. My mother's experience had already served as a cautionary tale, so I had no favorable impression of Makoto. The fact that a girl I liked was into a guy like him only made me feel regret. Giving up was the best option for me. No one was going to drag me into the mud. Makoto had the look of a typical bookish guy, fair-skinned and scholarly. But at this moment, his face was twisted with rage. He pointed at me and yelled, "George, what are you trying to do? Why won't you stop pestering Willow? Do you even realize what you're doing? This is harassment. You're destroying someone's family." The entire room erupted. I could already envision the headlines splashed across major media outlets. Business rising star accused of harassing married woman. George publicly denounced by Willow's husband. My assistant immediately began clearing the venue and sternly warned all guests not to leak any information. I felt a wave of frustration rise in my chest, and my tone turned cold. I said, "Mr. Ito, for the sake of the Liu family, I won't pursue the baseless scene today, but if there's a next time, be prepared to face the consequences." With that, I motioned for security to escort Makoto out. That night, when I returned home and opened the door, I saw Anna curled up on the sofa in a red slip dress. She looked up at me with tearful, pitiful eyes. The moment she saw me, she ran toward me and spoke in a sweet voice tinged with grievance. "George, I'm jealous," she cried. Like that, in front of everyone at the, "What's that supposed to mean?" I pulled away from her clingy embrace and asked, "Anna, who gave you the passcode to my door?" Her eyes sparkled as she looked at me, still pitifully, and said, "It was Grandpa Wang who asked me to move in." Looking around, the once cold and empty room now had all sorts of decorations a young girl would like. The whole place now radiated a warm, cozy vibe. I couldn't help but frown. Her eyes never left me. Seeing my expression, she hurried to explain in a soft and gentle tone, "Don't be mad. If you don't like it, I'll move out right away." Chapter 3. As she spoke, she turned to start packing her things. I grabbed her wrist and said, "Forget it. We're having the wedding in a few months anyway." Her eyes lit up like stars in an instant. She looked at me in ecstatic joy and asked, "You must be tired, right? Want me to show you the new decorations?" I was curious to see what else she had added, so I let her take me on the tour. When we stepped into the bedroom, one entire wall was covered with our photos from the moment we met to the moments we became a couple. Each memory captured and frozen in time. No matter how you looked at it, the whole scene was full of girlish romance. I couldn't help but smile, the corners of my lips lifted unconsciously. She asked, "I did a bit of decorating. What do you think?" Her eyes were full of anticipation, like a kitten waiting for its owner to pet it. It was hard to believe that this girl in front of me was the same one who had taken over the Sioux group after her parents died in an accident. Like she had been handed the script of a true female lead in a power drama. In just a few years, she turned the company from loss to profit and led Sioux Group to surpass every elite family in Pingjing. And she was only 25, 4 years younger than me. In business settings, she always gave off a cold, distant impression, but today I was finally seeing the youthful vitality she should have had. Not wanting to dampen her enthusiasm, I casually praised her. "The photos look nice." Anna froze for a second. A blush crept across her pale cheeks, spreading all the way to the tips of her ears. She murmured softly, "We can take more like these in the future." I was suddenly stunned. That's when I realized all the photos showed us in very intimate poses, which made my compliment come off as especially suggestive. Feeling a bit awkward, I forced myself to stay calm and said, "It's getting late. I'll go rest." With that, I quickly went upstairs. Grandpa allowing Anna to move and didn't surprise me. Ever since his illness forced him to step down, the Wong family had been on a steep decline. Even with all my efforts, I was only barely managing to keep things from falling apart. Restoring the Wong family to its former glory was easier said than done. He had once pinned his hopes on the Liu family, but that engagement had fallen through. Anna's appearance gave him a new sense of hope. He had said to me, "George, it's not that Grandpa doesn't trust you, but sailing through storms requires wind, and rising high takes momentum. Only those who know how to ride the wave are truly wise. The Sioux family is our best possible ally." I understood the logic well. Marriages between prominent families had always been a way to secure power. As long as it could help me, I was willing to accept it. My brother David was having a birthday party at the clubhouse. As I pushed the door open, the first thing I saw was Willow and Makoto sitting together side by side, close as ever. Chapter 4. She looked at me with grievance in her eyes, a storm of emotions swirling within them. I calmly avoided her gaze and moved to the farthest corner of the sofa. David quickly leaned in and whispered, "Willow said she wanted to come. We're all in the same social circle. It's hard to say no." Who knew her husband would shamelessly show up uninvited? Not wanting to discuss it, I pulled out a gift box from my bag and said, "Happy birthday." He tore open the wrapping without delay and his eyes lit up instantly. He laughed and said, "Bro, you know me too well." Inside was a limited edition mechanical watch I had pulled a lot of strings to get my hands on. David blinked and said, "For such an expensive gift, I feel like I should call you Godfather. Otherwise I'd feel bad." He paused. Dave has drifted through life, only regretting never meeting a worthy master. The others joined in teasing. "Wong, have you considered adopting another godson?" Just as everyone was joking and the room was filled with cheer, Makoto suddenly stood up. The cheerful atmosphere vanished in an instant. Everyone exchanged awkward glances. He stood there with a stony face and said to Willow, "Come outside." Willow silently got up and followed him. The two of them argued loudly in the hallway, and their voices were clearly audible. Everyone awkwardly perked up their ears. Makoto, clearly agitated, said, "You've been staring at George since we walked in. What the hell does that mean? What do you want from him?" Willow snapped back. "Why are you yelling? All you ever do is jump to conclusions. The less capable you are, the more aggressive you act. At home. Outside, you're nothing but a coward." "I'm a coward?" Makoto roared, his fury boiling over. "Then let me show you just how cowardly I am." The door was suddenly flung open. Makoto stormed into the room like a madman. He marched right up to me and pointed at Willow, shouting, "George, if you want this woman, take her. I'm done with her." Willow chased in after him, grabbing his arm. "Are you done losing your mind? You're humiliating us. Can't we talk about this at home?" Makoto yanked his arm away and screamed. "Talk about what?" "About how you still have feelings for George. How you keep thinking about him in secret. How you mutter his name in your sleep." "Huh? I'm embarrassing Willow? Don't act so high and mighty. Who was the one desperate to marry me back then? I warned you, I'm not into the rich kid games you people play." Willow couldn't hold back anymore. Her eyes turned red as she shouted, "Yes, I was the one who insisted on marrying you." But Makoto, don't make me regret it. Chapter 5. Makoto looked like he had been struck by lightning, frozen in place. The entire room fell into a dead silence. Then he laughed, a twisted, desperate laugh. He said, "So you finally said it." Each word cut like a blade, every sentence bleeding pain. Willow collapsed onto the sofa, looking completely drained. I couldn't stand this ridiculous drama anymore. I said, "David, I'm leaving." Makoto pounced in front of me like a wild animal, eyes blazing with rage. "George, you stole my wife, and now you want to run. You're nothing but a hypocrite in a suit, a beast in gentleman's clothing." Without a word, I swung my fist straight into his jaw. Makoto staggered back, clutching his face, staring at me in disbelief. I said coldly, "A parasite like you, looking down on elite families while enjoying every bit of their perks. You have no ability, no career, yet you still dare to act tough." My words hit his sore spot. His face turned red with rage. He gritted his teeth and said, "Who the hell wants your money? You think being rich makes you special? People like you are disgusting." I didn't deny that powerful families have many flaws, and I didn't believe that money and competence were always linked, but wanting the benefits while insulting the source? That was shameless. I sneered. "Remember this, someone like you has no right to bark in front of me." Makoto's face turned white, then red again, infuriated by my words. He blurted out, "I'm not worthy? I'm not even impressed by trust fund brats like you." That sentence offended everyone in the room. The guests' faces soured immediately. Someone said, "Willow, since your husband looks down on all of us, maybe you too shouldn't be showing up at our gatherings anymore." Willow's face turned pale, embarrassed. She repeatedly apologized and dragged Makoto out by force. What was supposed to be a fun celebration ended in a complete mess. David noticed I wasn't in the mood and insisted on taking me to a bar to continue the night. He skillfully called over a line of hostesses, each stunning and perfectly styled. He winked at me and said, "George, first time here? Don't worry, these girls are all very professional." He waved to one hostess who looked like a current celebrity. "Hey, go pour a drink for President Wong." The woman walked over gracefully and knelt beside me to pour the wine. I frowned. "Stand up. Pour it from standing." "It's fine." Chapter 6. David took a sip of his drink and said mysteriously, "I heard something interesting the other day. It was about Makoto. The guy really was different. He treated money like dirt. Specifically, after rising from humble origins to become the son-in-law of a wealthy family, he deliberately kept his distance from the Lius. He refused to work for any of the Liu family businesses and insisted on building his career from scratch. Even when the Liu family offered him a senior executive position at a prestigious publishing house, he turned it down politely and insisted on job hunting on his own. After sending out dozens of resumes and going through half a year of interviews, he finally landed a job at a small publishing firm as an editor, earning just over 4,000 yuan a month. Not only that, but he kept a strict boundary between the Liu family and his own relatives, refusing to let them benefit from the Liu name. His parents were honest, meek farmers who simply obeyed whatever their son said. But a while ago, Makoto's younger brother got into trouble. He acted as a guarantor for a friend and got caught in a scam, ending up owing 1.8 million yuan in high-interest debt. The lenders threatened to break his legs if he didn't pay. His family was dirt poor. There was no way they could come up with that kind of money. But to the Liu family, that amount was pocket change. So his parents went to his workplace, knelt before him, and tearfully begged him to save his brother. Guess what Makoto did? He pulled out a passbook with all his savings since he started working, 2,500 yuan. His parents broke down, unable to believe how heartless their son had become. They said, "You're really going to just stand by and watch your brother get crippled? This could ruin his entire future." To the Lius, this would have been a piece of cake to solve if Makoto just said the word, the debt would be gone. But he was unshakable and insisted. "I chose to be with Willow because I love her, not for a family status, and definitely not for money. I don't want the Liu family to look down on me. I won't be labeled a freeloader. I can't stand the gossip and whispers. You envy my life, but you have no idea how I walk on eggshells every single day in the Liu family. Your younger son is your child, but so am I." To be fair, the Liu family didn't treat him poorly. It was he who was too sensitive, too proud. The whole thing became public knowledge. The The Lus were embarrassed when they found out and tried to settle the debt for him, but Makoto snapped at them and turned the offer down. Their goodwill was thrown back in their faces, and eventually they stopped trying. In the end, his brother got his leg broken and his parents cut ties with him altogether. David concluded. Chapter 7. Is this Makoto guy out of his mind? Saying he chose Willow for love and not her money or power. He took a luxurious life and turned it into something pitiful. When he made Willow follow him with such conviction, I actually thought he had real potential, but turns out this is all he's got. I smiled faintly and said, he hasn't changed one bit. Makoto acts like he looks down on the rich, like he refuses to take handouts and wants to appear noble, but deep down, he's incredibly selfish. Driving the Lu family's luxury cars, living in their villa, but unwilling to let his own family benefit at all. To protect his fragile pride and reputation, he didn't even lift a finger to help his own younger brother. That night, we drank until late. David's driver ended up taking me home. I fumbled to open the door, tossed my suit jacket onto the sofa, tie loosely hanging around my neck. I walked in slowly. The living room light suddenly came on. The harsh brightness made me squint. Anna was standing in the center of the room, looking at me coldly. Drunk like this? She asked. I ignored her and collapsed onto the couch. My temples were throbbing. I closed my eyes and rubbed them. A pair of soft hands reached over and gently massaged my temples. Anna softened her voice. You've always been prone to migraines, and you still drink so much. I frowned in frustration. Tell the old man to stop worrying about my business. Her hands froze. I opened my eyes and looked at Anna. There was a flicker of hurt in her eyes. She bit her lip and said, George, do you have something against me? I pinched her delicate chin, smiling playfully. Don't overthink it, little one. Marriage is just a matter of mutual benefit. Anna's eyes instantly turned red. She bit her lips stubbornly, her voice trembling as she choked out. But I like you. I found it laughable and a bit helpless. I looked her up and down and said, status can change with time and circumstances, but interests never do. Only benefits make for the strongest bond. Anna, I don't need love. As long as our interests align, we can treat each other with mutual respect. She was silent for a long while, then suddenly asked, Is it because you still can't forget Willow? I frowned, annoyed. No, I only care about myself. Successful people pursue interests. Only fools get caught up in love. Anna suddenly smiled. She said that she and I wanted the same thing, a relationship built on shared interests. We definitely treat each other with respect. I had no words. I truly didn't understand where Anna's obsession with me came from. She never said, and I couldn't be bothered to dig deeper. Let her be. Chapter 8. A few days later, I unexpectedly ran into Willow at a business cocktail event. Just my luck. I immediately turned around, ready to leave, but she hurried after me. George. Gidge, she called. I stopped in my tracks and replied coldly, We're not close. Please don't call me that. A flicker of pain crossed her eyes. She said, Why are you treating me so coldly? We grew up together. What happened before was my fault. I cut her off immediately. That's enough. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. I turned to leave. Willow grabbed my arm, her eyes brimming with tears. I've only now realized the person I truly love has always been you. Can you give me another chance? Can we try again? I felt nauseated. My entire body went cold. I yanked my arm away and sneered. What does your love have to do with me? George, don't go back to leftovers. You were the one who insisted on breaking off the engagement and marrying Makoto at the time. Even though we were on opposing sides, you could still respect your naive determination. But now, you couldn't even hold on to that little bit of dignity. You're someone's wife, yet here you are clinging to another man. Isn't that disgustingly cheap? Willow's face went pale as a sheet, and she stood frozen on the spot. This scene was caught by a bystander and quickly made it to the top of the trending searches. Although my team moved fast and got it taken down, the online buzz was still going strong. Some said Willow's marriage was in crisis. Her dream of marrying into wealth had fallen apart. Others accused me of seducing a married woman, saying I was shameless to be thinking about an ex even after getting engaged to Anna. Makoto seized the opportunity to post a vague late-night tweet, insinuating that I had interfered in their marriage. David couldn't hold back anymore and directly clapped back on Weibo. Disgusting pair trying to stay relevant. A self-loathing sensitive leech and a shameless green ta btch. What a match made in trash heaven. Get lost, the both of you. Soon after, someone dug up footage of Willow breaking down in tears at my succession ceremony and Makoto causing a scene at my banquet. The internet split into two camps. Some said this was what a Phoenix man gets, trying to marry up and getting burned. Serves him right. Others defended Makoto, saying he had pride and never flaunted wealth, and that their relationship was pure love. The online fight was intense. When Grandpa summoned me back to the old house to explain, Anna happened to be with me. She insisted on coming along. When I opened the study door, Martin was already inside waiting. Chapter 9. He immediately seized the moment to mock me. Well, the big shot finally graces us with his presence. Grandpa's been waiting. What an entrance. I responded coldly. If the company weren't being held back by a useless idiot like you, I wouldn't be so busy. It's beyond me how someone as wise as Grandpa could have a fool like you for a son. Martin's face twisted in rage. He raised his fist to hit me and shouted, "You ungrateful little bastard. I'm your uncle." Anna stepped forward, pushing him back. "Mr. Wong, I suggest you think twice before laying a hand on him. George isn't just the heir of the Wong family. He's also my future husband. You have no right to touch either identity." Martin was stunned, speechless, his face dark and stormy. He finally forced out a sarcastic remark. "Ms. Su, you're generous. So many rumors flying around about your fiancé, and you're not even bothered? Do you think it's charming when a man flirts around? Are you planning to just tolerate it?" The next second, my fist connected squarely with his face. I asked coldly, "Feeling clear-headed yet? If not, I don't mind giving you another punch." Martin trembled with anger, but didn't dare fight back. He howled, "What did I say that wasn't true? You're just a womanizing scumbag, just like your father." Expressionless, I landed 2 more punches. "Keep talking. Let's see if your mouth is tougher than my fists." He was shaking all over, panting heavily, sneaking glances at the old man at the head of the table. Grandpa sat there like a mountain, slowly sipping tea, silently watching the chaos unfold. I sneered, "Can't talk anymore? While rumor accounts make things up, you don't bother to clarify and instead take the chance to kick me while I'm down. What was it, you stirring things up behind the scenes?" Ever since I got engaged to Anna, he'd completely lost his shot at inheriting anything. So he held a grudge and opposed me at every turn. Martin panicked and started denying it. "Don't accuse me. I have no idea what you're talking about." I spoke calmly. "Then forget it. But let me remind you, the prosperity of the Wong family depends on unity. You and I are both Wong family members. If one rises, we all rise. If one falls, we all fall. Don't be foolish enough to sabotage yourself." At last, Grandpa spoke. "George is right. Martin, apologize." Martin clenched his jaw and forced out one word at a time. "Sorry." I smiled warmly. "It's fine. Anyone who lacks manners just needs to read more books. They'll catch up eventually." That last line hit Martin's sore spot dead on. Chapter 10. Before the Wong family acknowledged him, Martin had been nothing but a good-for-nothing thug. He dropped out of school before even finishing middle school. Later, the Wongs gave him the best educational resources money could buy, but it was too late. Like rotten fruit, no amount of care could bring him back. That's why the thing he hates most is being called uneducated. At last, Martin couldn't take any more. With a bang, he slammed the door and stormed out. Anna squeezed my hand, looked at Grandfather with gentle eyes, and said, "Grandpa Wong, please don't pay any mind to the rumors outside. George and I care deeply for each other." Grandfather smiled. "Stay and have dinner with me." A few years ago, I had begun laying out investments in artificial intelligence, and the returns were spectacular. The Wong Group's financial report stunned the entire industry. Revenue up 20%, profits nearly doubled, the best numbers in our history. From that moment on, I was the heir apparent. During these years, under my management, the results spoke for themselves. On my first day in office, Wong Group stock shot up to the daily limit. Grandfather threw an extravagant celebration banquet, inviting business leaders and the press. Makoto and Willow attended with Mr. and Mrs. Liu. Mr. Liu, eager to mend relations, stayed close to Grandfather, laughing as though all past grudges had vanished. Mrs. Liu took my hand and said, "I watched George grow up. Such a fine child, far better than my own 2 useless sons." The Lius have only one daughter, Willow. Her words were obviously aimed at someone. No explanation needed. Mrs. Liu went on. Willow must have been blind, letting a perfect son-in-law slip away just to chase some penniless nobody. Makoto's face turned ashen, his nails dug into his palms. I merely smiled politely, and Anna arrived in time to lead me elsewhere. Then came the media cue. Makoto suddenly stood up and shouted for all to hear. George, what makes you think you deserve that seat? You're nothing but trash who climbed up on connections. The Liu family's faces darkened. Their eyes were full of disappointment. Chapter 11. Without losing my composure, I replied, do you understand win-win cooperation in business? Like on a battlefield, a strong alliance beats fighting alone every time. Makoto was stumped. So he lashed out. Everyone's saying you leveraged the broken engagement 5 years ago to scam the Lius out of a billion-yuan project, and now you're clinging to Ms. Su to cement your status. Your whole success comes from using 2 fiancés. Care to explain? I gave a scornful laugh. That accusation isn't even worth refuting. Makoto sneered. Not worth it? Or you simply have no answer? I answered evenly. I have a question for you. What does personal success even mean? Every human success is built within human society. There's no such thing as triumph without others. Your talk of rising on your own versus rising with help is a false dilemma. The only difference is degree, not kind. In any achievement, chance, environment, and ability all matter. Chance and environment already weigh heavily. The more resources those factors give you, the more impact your ability can have. I've earned this position through relentless effort and enormous pressure. I don't believe my self-reliance is any less than what most ordinary people must muster. So why should I let others dictate what I'm allowed to be? The room erupted. Funny thing, really. Plenty of people hate the rich, while plenty of others look down on those at the bottom. In the end, it's all about perspective. Each side weaponizes morality to attack the other, forging impossible standards. The rich must be flawless philanthropists who never lean on anyone. The poor must toil endlessly, and if they fail, it proves they're worthless. Why should I be bound by those rules? Why can't I redefine the game? Anna rose gracefully and stood beside me. George is right. Success has never been a solo act. I believe in his ability, and I'm ready to move forward hand in hand. The interview clips spread like wildfire online. Trending tags blew up every platform. George admits leveraging women's support, redefining win-win cooperation. This Kool-Aid is too sweet. Netizens argued fiercely. Some cheered, some condemned, but the craziest were the fans shipping us as a couple. Clips of Anna and I exchanging glances were edited into countless ship videos and went viral. At the same time, the scandal of Makoto letting his own brother's leg be broken to save himself resurfaced, leaving onlookers utterly stunned. Chapter 12. Everyone agreed he should have had a golden future, yet after marrying into a powerful clan, he achieved nothing at all. He neither used the family's resources to improve himself nor built up any wealth. Instead, he broke with his own relatives and ended up empty-handed. That isn't devotion, it's sheer madness. My mother, who has struggled with mental illness for years, suddenly said she wanted to see Anna and me. She was recuperating at a hillside sanatorium. When she first met Anna, her gaze was clear. She studied her gently for a long time, then said with maternal warmth, "So you're my son's fiancé?" Anna answered with a perfect, "Yes, Auntie." Mother smiled in relief. "I watched the video of you defending George. Knowing he has you beside him sets a mother's heart at ease." Then she turned to me, tears welling up. "George, I'm sorry." My heart no longer rippled. In earlier years, I had felt both pity and resentment toward her. Resentment that when I was struggling and facing ridicule, she wasn't there. I often wondered whether if I disappeared, she would finally regain clarity. But time has taught me she, too, is pitiable. Without that accident, she would surely have loved and protected me just as she does now. Softly I said, "Mom, I'm doing well. Please take good care of yourself." At those words, grateful tears shone in her eyes. Leaving the sanatorium, I stared out the car window, lost in thought. Anna drove us to the seaside. Listening to the waves crash against the shore, she whispered, "George, lean on me for a while. You deserve a breather." Resting my head on her lap, I finally lowered every defense and wept in silence. All the bitterness of years spent fighting alone poured out at once. The climb to the summit is strewn with thorns, yet in the end, I reached the peak. News of Makoto and Willow next reached me as rumors of their marriage collapsing. The once spectacular wedding had proved a mirage. Dreams inevitably dissolve after the failure. Willow seemed to mature, but once she took over the Liu family, she made one bad decision after another. Lacking business instincts, she drove the company steadily downward. Trying to secure financing from the Wang clan, she lowered herself repeatedly to request meetings. Each time, I courteously refused. Makoto's publishing job also fell apart. The wreck of his marriage left him dazed. His work was chaos. All day he muttered, "Our love was meant to be pure, untouched by filthy money. How do we end up here?" Chapter 13. That naive, high-mindedness of his was a double-edged sword. It was exactly what had captivated Willow, the quality that made him and the quality that ruined him in the end. Makoto chose to leave the city and disappear without a trace. On our wedding night, while Anna and I were wrapped in tenderness, I suddenly paused at the most intimate moment and asked what she really wanted from me. She gazed into my eyes, a hint of helplessness in her own. With her stunning features, waterfall of dark hair, and faint, elegant scent, she looked both gentle and resolute. She frowned slightly. "To ask that now, George? How cold-hearted you are." My voice stayed icy. "Will you answer or not?" With a soft sigh, she began her story. She had first seen me at a Wang family banquet. Everyone was snubbing me, yet I remained calm and composed, neither humble nor arrogant. Drawn by that quiet poise, she approached and said, "It takes courage to stay true to yourself in a place like this." That memory resurfaced. Yes, it had happened, though at the time, I found her comment needless. I was simply used to such situations. Later, when she learned of my engagement to Willow, she felt urgent anxiety, but her parents had just died and she was overwhelmed. A year after Willow broke our engagement for Makoto, Anna wanted to confess her feelings, yet the Sue group was in crisis and she refused to drag me into the whirlpool. Only after Sue group recovered did she dare come to me and propose our union. So it was love at first sight. Her girlish affection had never changed. When she finished, a flood of emotion stirred within me. Anna looked into my eyes and whispered, "George, my heart has never wavered." I answered her truth with a fervent kiss. The room's temperature slowly climbed. This time, I was willing to drop my guard and trust her completely. Career and love. I will let neither slip from my grasp.